one of the big news that's coming out of the US basically over the past 2 weeks is about USAID. And don't worry, we're not going to go into all the very boring political stuff about it. About, like all these Democrats and that have been accepting money. But one thing that we did hear was that Politico took an $8 million while attacking Gamergate and publishing anti-gamer narrative. And they weren't the only one. So it turns out that Politico and the left-leaning news outlets that have long smeared as Gamergate and the gaming community was receiving millions of dollars in taxpayers' dollars, while the White House Press Secretary Karine Leavitt announced Wednesday that the outlet will no longer receive federal funding after revelations that it took in more than $8 million through the USAID. This funding bombshell was highlighted by ex-user, I'm getting that name wrong, who pointed out that Politico has published multiple articles relating to Gamergate and consistently framing it as a disinformation and harassment campaign while pushing narratives about diversity in gaming. A search for Gamergate on Politico returns 22 different articles. The revelations raise serious questions about whether taxpayer money was used to promote political agenda within the game's journalism. People have wondered if our tax dollars were used to promote wokeness in video games, and the answer is yes, Aldrin posted. I'm getting that name wrong, I apologise. USA paid Politico millions of dollars per year writing pieces like this one, which promotes diversity and describes Gamergate as a disinformation harassment campaign. During Wednesday's White House press briefing, Leavitt confirmed that Politico taxpayer funded has been terminated. It was made aware of the funding from the USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room, Leavitt said. The $8 million you received in the ends today. The Doge team is cancelling those payments now. The Doge team, short for the Department of Government Efficiency, is led by Elon Musk and has been tasked with eliminating wasteful spending over the federal contracts. So it looks like billions of dollars have been stolen by the USAID and other agencies for fake news media to pay off, creating favourable stories about, we're not guessing the politicians' party so much. But yeah, as for users, Politico has aligned itself with activist game and journalists who have pushed woke narratives under the disguise of combating toxicity. Their extensive coverage of Gamergate framed gamers as reactionary extremists rather than addressing the legitimate concerns about the media corruption that sparks controversy in the first place. Many of those narratives were driven by the same journalists who sought to rebrand gamers as a progressive battleground rather than an entertainment industry. Politico's financial ties to the government now raise concerns about whether the narratives were shaped, and at least in part, by taxpayer incentives. So the mainstream media games subsidies run deep. So Associated Press received $619,000. Reuters received 3.1. New York Times 378 million. So basically, here you have the the CIA funding the USAID, who was then giving money to games journalists to write pieces about Gamergate and regarding the gamers and while pushing progressive point of views in the gaming industry. Obviously at the end of the day, Politico was receiving $8 million, which is probably one of the worst. Not everything they received money for would have been about Gamergate, but it does make you wonder how many of these stories that they wrote, or not only that, but also how many of these other gaming studios have gone through and have been receiving payments over the years from this USAID. So this is sort of linking back to the first story that we're talking about, where you had like the Gamersgate and you had, for example, Elon Musk calling the games industry garbage. What are your thoughts on Politico and this whole 8 million Gamergate pushing anti-gamer narrative?
Hmm. I mean, I don't understand what they expect to actually change out of this. I mean,
You mean Elon
like
Musk or the games industry?
the game industry, the game industry. I mean, like I'm actually not for sure where I'm even taking this thought anymore. I just like I thought like had it, then I lost it.
Well, the big thing about this, I suppose, right, is if you get a whole bunch of people that are pushing a narrative about, for example, wokeness in video gaming industry, and then all of a sudden, like you're getting everybody saying about how we're diverse and we're inclusive and stuff like that. The people that are very much the normies, the very ones that are they're very much the sheep, the ones that sit there and still claim that Dragon Age of Valgard was a good game, for example, will sit there and will just toe the line. And if you for example have a whole bunch of people like me who have been calling this stuff out for years, and all of a sudden we're constantly getting berated in the media, called a bad person from World War II, or we're getting called this and that, for example, then at the end of the day, like, yeah, it's enough to do your head in when, like, you're like, well, I'm constantly being attacked for having this opinion. Everybody else seems to be pushing this diversity and inclusion, and it makes you feel like you're the only guy standing on an island while everybody else around you is swimming with the sharks, so to speak. So, at the end of the day, that's what I'm presuming they were hoping to do, is to make it so that these people that were going through and having these thoughts that diversity and stuff should not be included in their video game industry are very much the people standing on the island and are very much on their own. But it ends up being that at the end of the day is that, well, no, actually we are the majority. It's just that we're getting drowned out by all this chatter, by like people like sitting there because they're getting paid to push these sort of narratives. The best example I can say about this, right? So if we go down, this is the same guy we referenced in the first video. He's this guy that's making this video game, and we go through. He did a poll a while ago. Here it is. Here. In a medieval fantasy action RPG experience, what do you prefer to choose between? We will follow the final result. 3.3% said none of the above. 8.4% said type A, type B, body type. 88.4% said male or female. Overwhelming amount of people said male or female. Now, if you look at this is contradictory to how people feel. People think, and even I was sitting there thinking, like, I was in a minority when I used to want when I want male or female body types. I always thought that type A, type B was what the games industry preferred. But according to this result, who, by the way, had 49,000 views, so just shy of 50,000 views or votes, have turned around and 88% said they want male or female.
Hmm.
So this is what I'm saying is, like, when they go through and they pay these sort of things, they pay these articles or they pay these publishers to push this narrative, well, then at the end of the day, and maybe this is something I can hit up Elon and I can ask him for. Maybe we can find out how many of these games journalists are actually going through and being paid by the USAID. It'd be interesting. Oops, keep clicking on it. Yeah, it'd be
It would
interesting.
be interesting. I want to find out now.
Yeah. Can I? I can't message him, can I? No, he's closed off his. I'll see if I can get in touch with like Smash JT or someone, and maybe we can find out, or maybe we can get the records from the USAID, and we can go through and we can find out exactly how much money has been paid to these gaming journalists over the years, because that'll be definitely interesting. Find out how much was paid to like Kotaku and IGN and all these sort of places.
Yeah.
But yeah, it ends up finding out that like especially the mainstream media was paid like $8 million, and it just happened to be that all these people that were paid this sort of money pushed this anti-gamer narrative. Who would have thought? But any thoughts and opinions before we wrap up?
Can't we go back to when the video games were just fun?
Well, I know one that's been made that's just fun. But still gonna be a while.
Which one is that?
It's going to be a little while yet.
You're saying it's going to be fun?
Oh, hell yeah. I was making it the other day. I was making it so that the AI will, like, for example, if it's raining, they'll run inside. And, like, they'll go and find, like, a weapon, or they'll find a chair or find an item that you can specify. But, yeah. So, like, for example, if they want to go through and, like, do, like, a task for, like, sweeping the floor, which is what I'm building, hopefully tonight, they'll be able to go through and they'll be able to find a broom and then use that broom to sweep the floor. But anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts in that comment section below. If the video's been helpful, please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, we'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great night and enjoy.